Bonjour and welcome to a new unboxing video, and today we're going to talk about the best comics you've never heard of. Yes, quite seriously. We're going to talk about a company that was set up in the 70s. It was called Atlas Seaboard. It was called Atlas, but because there's another company called Atlas, we're going to call it by its full name, which is Atlas Seaboard. And this company was created by a Goodman who used to be the owner of Marvel Comics, but he left the company and decided to create a new company. So he was going to try and pilfer most of the creators that were working for Marvel. We're talking about people like Neil Adamson, Steve Ditko, and Ross Ace, and Howard Chaykin, Rich Buckler, Alex Toth, all those people, to create a brand new line of comic books that would be a competition to Marvel. Sadly, for many reasons, mostly distribution, could never get the comics sorted and released and distributed in some states and stuff. The company went bankrupt very quickly. So there's only been something like 2 years worth of comics really produced. Okay, they created it in 72 and they stopped trading in 75, but I think there was maybe 1 year of trading for those comics that included fantastic titles like Planet of the Vampire, The Hands of the Dragon, Devilina, The Phoenix, The Grim Ghost. What else? There were quite a few. Really quite a few. It was not bad. It's just that nobody ever read those comics, and lo and behold, Atlas Seaboard is trying to do a comeback. Apparently there's a deal for a movie done with Paramount, and then there is another deal which is done with Walmart in the US to do a line of toys, and the line of toys is done by Mego. Yes, I know. I always find a way to talk about Mego, but that's exactly what's happening, is that Mego was contracted to do retro figures for this line of comics that nobody knows anything about, that should become a movie at some point. I mean, it's that crazy, but the figures are out and they're absolutely fantastic and I absolutely love them. So I'm going to show you those Atlas Seaboard figures, so the Atlas collection, the first wave, because there may be a second wave, hopefully. So the first wave has the Phoenix, you do have the Grim Ghost, you do have the Hands of the Dragon. It was the 70s, so they needed to have a kung fu character, and Devilina. So basically we're going to open those. Those are exclusive to Walmart, because it's actually a Walmart product, more or less. And we're going to see what they're like. So we're going to open them, and as usual, I'm going to show you mostly what's in it, because they do contain something. They actually contain an actual comic book. That's why they've got big boxes, because I mean we're used to, that's a Mego box normally. We're used to that size of box. We're not used to something that's much bigger. But of course that's a very nice packaging. I really like the packaging, but of course it's so big, mostly because well, first they can actually spread the character and show off the character, but then there is the comic book that needs to be put in the box. So all those boxes are done in a similar way. I'm just going to try and see. As you can see, you do have, all of them have the logo of the comic book that they come from on the side. I'm showing all four at the same time so that you can see how it works. But then each one has a separate packaging. I mean, the trade dress for the packaging is the same, so it's the black and red. You do have this big window at the front with the Mego logo. You do have the Atlas Seaboard logo in big here. It does say that it's an official limited edition action figures with original quality and detail. you do have the 26 point of articulation, of course the 8 inches. You do have the cover of the comic book, the first issue, if I remember well. I read those when I was a kid, so I know those characters. And you do have, of course, the Phoenix logo, the fact that it does say there's a comic book inside. So we're going to open them, and I'm actually quite excited because it's always nice to have new Megos. It's nice to have something. It's interesting that there is no, I just noticed that there is no tape. So literally they are actually a collector friendly packaging, because there's no tape to actually get everything out. So we're going to see. So it does actually slide out. So the back of the box, it does say, you do have the logo. I don't know if we can see it correctly, but you do have the Phoenix logo in the back, and there is actually like a little cable that actually holds the comic book. We'll have a look at the comic book anyway. And we do have this big plastic tray, and of course we do have those plastic thing, and we do have our first figure. So I'm going to be very careful because even though it doesn't appear to be as, I'm just checking because we know what those figures can be like, and mostly because they've been, of course, in packaging, so they are a bit, they're not really very they're still quite not very flexible at the moment. So here is the first one. So this is Phoenix. So he's a superhero, and yes, he does have baskets or sport shoes. And if you think that it's an error, no, because on the comic book you can see that he is actually wearing those sport shoes as well. So that's actually correct. It's a bit weird. He's got 26 points of articulation. Looks like basically it's a bit rigid, and I mean, as you know, because we've been there many times with Mego figures, so you know that I'm always careful when I open them, because quite often the mostly with the elbows the articulations are not aligned, so it's always a good thing to check first if the articulation of the figure is correctly aligned. So I'm not going to force them at the moment. The best way to actually check is to actually remove the clothing, check the articulation, and then you should be fine. But those seems to be a bit more flexible. I mean, the legs are definitely more flexible, and the feet are more flexible than we've had in the past. So I'm thinking that, like they've done with the Marvel figures, which are the more recent one, we shouldn't have as many issues as before. So here's the costume. They just have this big velcro in the back. Interestingly enough, that face, that head is actually the head sculpt from an old 1970s figure that they've repurposed, which is actually nice. So here we go. That's the first figure. It doesn't have any accessory. The interesting thing is, of course, it does come with a comic book, which is a repro of the first issue of course there's a new logo in the back, but that's the first issue of Phoenix from the time. And you do have here you go, you do have those thing. It's actually not bad. I mean, I do remember reading those at the time, and you do have the old adverts for the characters that they had done, which actually could mean that we could be getting some of those characters next, which would be nice. So anyway, that's the comic book that comes with Phoenix, who is the first one. I'm just noticing one thing, which is that costume, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but it seems to be quite thin. So, but it's fine. It's fine. That thing is supposed to stretch anyway. So that's the first figure of Phoenix. We're going to open next the Hands of the Dragon. So same thing. I mean, you do have the issue 1 comic book in the back. You do have some the same. It's the same packaging. Otherwise, same thing. We do have a collector-friendly package, which once again is much appreciated. We're going to get the comic book out. This is the comic book. I'm not going to show you all the comic books, but this is the actual comics from the 70s. Of course, it's not exactly, it's a reprint, of course. Right, let's get rid of those plastic gibbers. So here is, I'm just going to sort him a bit so that he looks his best. So here you go. This is the character from the Hand of the Dragon. So he's really a kung fu fighter, as you can see. He looks really cool. I really like it. It's funny because the mask reminds you a bit of Spider-Man, but it's of course not Spider-Man at all. It does come with a little gold amulet here. I don't know if it's both sides or just one side. Let me see. Yes, it is double-sided, so you do have two sides to the amulet. It looks really cool. I do like him a lot. And same thing is it's got the 26 point of articulation, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So here you go. That's the second one of all characters, and he looks absolutely great. I really like him. Then we're going to get to the lady, because we do have Devilina. So interestingly enough, with Devilina, if you look at the comic book, and well, you'll see the comic book, she doesn't have the same costume at all, and she doesn't have quite the same costume as this one. She's a bit overdressed. I'm thinking that probably the idea was they needed to update the costume, because 1970s almost naked female warrior is such a cliche. So they did update that, because I mean that's the original costume. I mean, as you can see, she's and that was actually a black and white comic book, because if I remember well, Devilina was magazine size and not comic book size when they were doing it. So let's try and free everything. So this is first the sword, which is really a very nice sword. We're going to show you Devilina. So yeah, it's very rubberized. She looks absolutely great. She does have a little horns here. It's interesting that they went for molded hair, because traditionally Mego would have real hair, well, implanted hair. And but no, that's pretty good. I do like the cape. She does have this very sleek little costume, and I think she looks fantastic. She really does. So we're going to give her a sword, because people have been wondering, because for quite a while Mego has been we've been waiting for Mego to actually have new bodies for the female characters, because they changed all the male bodies to a bandless body, but this is still the old style female body. They haven't done the bandless bodies for female characters, so this is still a classic female Mego body. She looks absolutely fantastic. I really like her. Interestingly enough, she's probably the character I know the least, because when I was a kid and I was in France, Phoenix and Kung Fu and Grim Ghost were I knew of them, and Phoenix was definitely published in France, but Devilina wasn't, as far as I know. So that's really cool. And we do have, I kept the I wouldn't say the best for last, but this is definitely the most impressive of the figure, the Grim Ghost. And you do have, of course, in the back, same thing, the illustration of the character. And we're going to get him out of his box. Yeah, I have to be very careful because it does come with accessories, because the Green Ghost has guns. And of course, I just lost one. I know it's a theme with me, losing guns and accessories. We're going to get him out of the box. So this is the comic book. I mean, you know the deal by now. There you go. So let's not get into details about the comic book. And this character looks really cool. The cape looks very fluffy. Here you go. This is the Grim Ghost. He looks really good. I do like it. He looks fantastic with this big cape. So the cape is very fluffy, velvety inside, and all satin style outside. So you do have the little, I love the fact that you do get some lace details here and here, and of course we do have the boots. The boots are very, I mean, you will know the boots if you know Mego, because those are the Romulan boots that they've used for quite a few things, and he does come with his two guns. So here we go. That's basically the first figures of the wave of the Atlas Seaboard Mego figures, which are exclusive to Walmart. So I'm afraid that you need to either go to a Walmart shop or order online. I mean, you can order on the Walmart website. If you're not in the US, you've got ways to order them, because if you've got companies in the US that actually give you for free an address in the US, and you actually have those products that you order sent to that American address, and then for a fee that company will actually ship to your real address the toy. So you can actually do that, because I've done something quite similar. So I know the system works. It's a bit more expensive, of course, but it's not that expensive, to be honest. So here we go. We do have all 4 characters from the Atlas Seaboard figures by Mego: the Grim Ghost, the wonderful Devilina, the Hands of the Dragon, and I lost the sword, and the Phoenix. So here we go. They're out, and they're really cool. And well, I've got comic books to read, even though I know I've read this one, and I know I've read this one when I was a kid. So, but here you go. They're out. I think they are $29.99 US dollars, because they are deluxe figures with the comic book, and they are really fun. Limited edition. Don't know for how long they will be in stock, and we'll speak again soon. Bye.